What happens when the most powerful Avenger is stripped of his sacred weapon and thrown into the unforgiving abyss of space? No Mjolnir, no Stormbreaker, no Bifrost, just Thor alone. In the vacuum of space, there's no sound. But if there were, it would tremble with the echoes of ancient gods. Planets explode, stars collapse, and drifting in the middle of it all is a warrior without his hammer. But here's the twist. Thor doesn't need Mjolnir. The hammer was never his power, it was his focus, his leash. Without it, what emerges isn't just a god, it's a cosmic storm wrapped in flesh. Imagine Thor facing black holes, dodging solar flares, tearing through asteroid fields with his bare hands, and then colliding with beings far beyond human comprehension. Celestials, Watchers, maybe even Galactus. Would the loss of Mjolnir break him? Or would it unleash something far more dangerous? Because when Thor is truly unchained, unarmed, unafraid, and untamed, the universe doesn't stand a chance. This isn't just about survival. This is about transformation. This is Thor reborn, as a force the cosmos has never seen. Brace yourself, because Thor didn't lose his hammer. He lost his limits. The stars didn't welcome him. They swallowed him. Thor, son of Odin, god of thunder, hurled from the remnants of a collapsed Bifrost experiment gone wrong, catapulted into a sector of deep space where even light seemed hesitant to exist. He didn't land. He drifted. No Mjolnir in his grip. No Stormbreaker strapped to his back. Nothing but the echo of a scream torn from his throat mid-teleport, now lost in the vacuum. And that's the first thing that hits him. Silence. Not the kind that comforts. The kind that devours. Out here, there's no battlefield to stand on, no enemy to lock eyes with, no ground to plant his feet in. Just an infinite fall in every direction. His body tumbles slowly through the void, Asgardian armor scorched and cracked, cape trailing behind like the last trace of royalty. There's no gravity, no wind, just blackness, and the occasional flicker of a distant sun dying far too early. He reaches for Mjolnir out of instinct. Nothing. His fingers close around air. Panic? No. Thor has died before. Fought gods, titans, monsters. But this is different. This isn't a war. This is erasure. The universe is erasing him 1 second at a time. Not by killing him, but by making him nothing. Insignificant. Powerless. He tries to summon lightning. Nothing. He tries to scream. Nothing. His Asgardian physiology keeps him alive. Barely. Muscles twitching, oxygen bloodlocked. Heartbeat slow like it knows time is bending out here. But what good is immortality when you can't move? When you can't fight? When you can't even fall? Drifting past a dying red star, the radiation sizzles his skin. He doesn't flinch. He welcomes it. At least it's something. And then, deep inside the silence, a memory whispers, "You are not the god of hammers." Odin's voice, calm, firm, final. That phrase echoes louder in this void than any thunder Thor ever summoned. For a brief moment, his hand tightens into a fist. The silence fractures, not with sound, but with presence, as if the universe itself felt his heartbeat spike. Then something changes. Not in space. In him. It's not the hammer that's gone. It's the illusion, the story he told himself, that his strength came from something forged in Nidavellir. That without it, he was incomplete, mortal, weak. No, he was never the god of hammers. He was the storm. And storms don't need weapons. They are weapons. Lightning doesn't ask permission before it strikes. Neither does Thor. He stops tumbling. It's subtle at first. A twitch in his spine. A flare behind his eyes. The cosmic forces that ripple through his veins, once tamed by URU metal and royal decree, now crackling raw, unshackled. His breath returns not as desperation, but as command. His body hums, every atom aligning like soldiers awaiting orders. Then a pulse. No light, no sound, just force. It radiates from his chest in a violent, invisible burst. Nearby space bends. Dust spirals around him like a vortex, forming its eye. Even the dying star he passed begins to brighten slightly, as if reacting to the awakening. Thor opens his eyes. No longer lost. He isn't falling. He's rising. He doesn't fly. He burns through space. Arms at his side, cape tearing behind him. His speed building not from propulsion, but pure will. Comets streak beside him. An asteroid drifts into his path. He punches straight through it like mist. He doesn't know where he's going. He doesn't care. He just knows he's not done. But the universe isn't empty. It's watching. And not all of it is pleased. Something stirs in the dark. A presence. Massive. Ancient. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need to. Space bends to accommodate it. Light shifts. Gravity murmurs. Even Thor feels it, like a ripple in his bloodstream. And then he sees it, a shadow moving across a field of stars, blotting out constellations. Not a ship, not a planet, a being, a celestial, watching, waiting. Thor pauses, mid-flight, floating in the silence once more. But now it's not fear he feels, it's clarity. The celestial doesn't speak. It doesn't need to. Its gaze alone feels like judgment passed down by the architects of existence. Thor doesn't bow. He doesn't ask. He doesn't explain. He simply raises his hand, not to summon Mjolnir, but to summon himself. Lightning erupts from his palm, pure primal, deafening inside the void, arcing into space and lashing the stars themselves. The celestial tilts its head. Thor smiles. He knows now. He was never meant to wield the storm like a tool. He was meant to become it. And this is just the beginning. The celestial doesn't flinch. It simply stares. And Thor, hovering before it like a spark before a supernova, realizes this isn't a confrontation. Not yet. It's a test. A silent conversation between two ancient forces, one born from stars, the other born to command them. Thor lowers his hand. The lightning fades, but it doesn't vanish. It coils around his limbs like a living thing, wrapping his body in glowing arcs, whispering across his skin in ancient tongues. It's not summoned anymore, it's awake. It moves with him, breathes with him, fused into his very cells. The celestial raises a hand the size of a moon. Reality bends, colors invert, time skips. In a single thought, it tries to erase him. No weapon, no shield, just Thor, suspended in the god stare of a being that helped shape galaxies. A single blink from this entity would disassemble planets down to memory. But Thor does not disappear. He steps forward, through time, through the impossible, through a reality fracture that should have dissolved his atoms into stardust, but instead only cracks his armor further, revealing pulsing energy beneath. The celestial hesitates. Thor keeps walking. Each step defies the rules that governed him before. He isn't fighting anymore. He's ascending. Every second in this dimensionless space stretches into eons. But Thor moves like time is his to command. His mind begins to perceive things not even Heimdall saw. Layers of existence stacked like echoes. Universes humming with life and silence all at once. He sees echoes of himself across timelines. One where he died at Ragnarok. One where he never found Mjolnir. One where he ruled as a tyrant. And then one where he never needed the hammer at all. That's the one that calls to him. And something inside him snaps into place. The celestial's hand begins to close. It's no longer testing. Now it's containing, sealing Thor in a pocket of collapse time. But before the fingers can clasp, Thor vanishes. Not teleported, not moved, evolved. He reappears above the celestial's head, riding a bolt of his own lightning, tearing through probability like it owes him something. He strikes, not with a weapon, but with intent. His fist connects with the god being's crown, and space itself shatters around them like glass. The blast lights up galaxies. Nebulas flicker. Planets on the edge of the blast feel the wave ripple through space-time. And for a moment, even the watchers turn their gaze. The celestial doesn't fall, but it recoils, stunned. No one has ever done that. Not without a weapon. Not alone. Thor floats in the aftermath, breathing heavy, lightning dancing across his chest like a heartbeat turned into storm. But peace is brief. A new force enters the scene. Not a god, not a titan, a machine, built at the beginning of time, lost to all except those who feared it. The Black Star engine, a construct designed to consume unstable energy signatures, created by the Ancient Ones to trap beings that threatened to outgrow their purpose. It had slumbered for eons, buried beneath layers of quantum silence. Now it awakens, because Thor has crossed a line. The machine doesn't approach, it arrives instantly, surrounding him in a sphere of shifting metal and anti-light. It speaks in pulses. In anti-gravity and particle logic, Thor responds with a growl. His fist clenches, but the machine adapts, instantly analyzing his biology, his cosmic resonance, his potential chaos. It begins to siphon not just his power, but his identity, erasing his existence at the molecular narrative level. Thor roars. The space around him ignites. The machine's core flares, absorbing the surge. But Thor doesn't stop, because now it's personal. He doesn't just want to survive. He wants to break the system that said he couldn't be more than his hammer. He wants to shatter the idea that gods are bound by relics and runes. He wants to prove that power, true power, isn't something you hold. It's something you become. So he lets go of fear, of focus, of restraint. He opens himself completely to the storm. The lightning turns white, not yellow, not blue, white, the color of unfiltered energy, the raw stuff of creation before the universe cooled. It pours from him in every direction, melting the metal walls of the machine, shorting its ancient circuits, bending the laws it was built to enforce. The Black Star engine begins to collapse. It emits a final, desperate pulse, trying to lock him in an event horizon. Thor leans in, smiling. He punches straight through the core. Not metaphorically, literally. The machine implodes. Silence returns, not because there's nothing left, but because everything nearby is too afraid to speak. Thor drifts once again, but not lost, reborn. He has no ship, no weapon, no guide, and yet every star seems to move aside for him. He's not a threat, he's a law. Somewhere far away, the Council of Watchers murmurs. Arishem, the judge, reviews records rewritten by a single punch. Eternity raises an eyebrow, and Galactus pauses just for a moment, as if sensing a new variable in the endless equation of cosmic balance. Thor doesn't care. He's not doing this for them. He's not doing it to be seen. He's doing it because this is who he is now. Not a prince, not a hero, not the god of thunder, but the storm itself. And storms don't ask permission. They arrive. The ruins of the Black Star engine still pulse in the distance, fragments spinning in zero gravity, trying to remember what they used to be. The machine that once devoured ancient suns is now nothing but glowing debris, scattering across the void like confetti from a forgotten apocalypse. Thor doesn't look back. He's past the point of reflection, passed out, past needing validation from gods who never truly understood him. The storm within him is no longer wild, it's conscious, listening, thinking, choosing. Every breath he takes bends starlight, but the universe isn't done testing him. From the edges of known space, something begins to move. Not an object, a force, like a wave with no ocean, pure distortion. It doesn't fly, it cancels. Every system it touches, it erases. Stars blink out, gravity reverses, physics quits, and at its center is a shape, a figure, shifting, undefined, unnamed. It's not from this reality, maybe not from any. Thor watches it approach. It doesn't speak, it doesn't scream, it simply exists, wrong. Its presence is nausea in cosmic form. Time dilates around it, causality breaks. Whatever this thing is, it's not here to fight. It's here to end. Thor tightens his fists. But this time, there's no lightning. It's not fear. It's instinct. The storm knows this isn't an enemy you strike. This is an enemy you out-evolve. So Thor doesn't attack. He closes his eyes and lets go again. not of power, but of form. His body begins to break apart, but not destructively. It's controlled, deliberate, as if his atoms are rearranging, reaching for a version of himself that matches the threat before him. Bones glow, skin fractures into light. His very idea begins to shift. The being surges forward. Reality recoils in its wake. It reaches Thor in a heartbeat. Impact. But it doesn't land, because Thor is no longer matter. He's motion, a conscious storm wrapped in memory and fury, swirling so fast through dimensions that he's everywhere and nowhere at once. The being tries to lock onto him, but Thor slips through equations like a myth through history. Untouchable, unknowable. Then Thor strikes. From within, not with force, with frequency. He doesn't punch the being. He reprograms it, sends lightning coated with his will into its core, rewriting its presence like a virus targeting an operating system that shouldn't exist. The being glitches. For the first time, it hesitates. Then it screams. But the sound doesn't travel through space. It cuts through possibility. Civilizations light years away wake up screaming from dreams they don't understand. Ancient relics buried in black holes start vibrating. The living tribunal pauses mid-judgment. And Thor? He pushes harder. Every cell of his body is now thought. Every movement is a storm's intention. He's not fighting anymore. He's rewriting the battlefield. The creature lashes out in desperation, generating a blast of pure paradox. An energy wave that bends backward through time and forward through what should never be. It engulfs Thor entirely. And for a moment, he's gone. The storm goes silent. The stars dim, but only for a moment. Then the sky tears open. From within that paradox, Thor returns, wearing a mantle of collapsing stars. His body forged from broken timelines stitched together by will alone. His voice, when he speaks, is thunder and prophecy. You don't belong here. He doesn't shout. He declares. The creature begins to unravel, not from the outside, from its name. Its concept is breaking down, its presence unraveling into static. It reaches out one last time, not to attack, but to beg. Too late. Thor raises his hand, and for the first time, the universe doesn't see a god. It sees a constant, a fixed truth, a being so tuned with the storm that even reality dares not disobey. He snaps his fingers. The creature is gone, not destroyed, erased, unmade, as if it had never existed. Silence follows, but this time it feels earned. The stars hold their breath. Comets freeze mid-trajectory. The universe recalibrates around the storm that now walks with purpose. Not vengeance, not ego, just clarity. Thor floats alone again, but this time it's different. He's not lost. He's beyond found. The Bifrost is gone. Mjolnir is dust. Stormbreaker is myth. And yet, Thor moves forward, because there's something waiting, something calling, not from Asgard, not from Midgard, but from the very edge of everything. A voice older than the gods, a heartbeat that echoes from the fabric of existence itself. It whispers one word: balance. Thor narrows his eyes, because now he understands. The universe doesn't need heroes. It needs anchors, forces that hold chaos at bay without needing worship, without needing thrones, without needing hammers. He takes one step toward the call, and the stars move with him. He is no longer the god of thunder. He is the storm the gods pray never wakes up. And he just did. The edge of everything is not a place. It's a threshold, a moment where the known folds into the unknowable, where physics stops pretending it's in control, where gods stop being worshipped and start being tested. And Thor is walking straight into it. He doesn't know what lies beyond. He doesn't need to. The storm inside him no longer waits for answers. It creates them. With every step, his body becomes less Asgardian, more elemental. His veins don't carry blood. They pulse with direction, with will. Reality shifts around him. Planets drift out of his way. Black holes stretch open, curious but cautious. Ancient energies, the kind spoken of in whispers by celestials, and feared by even Galactus, ripple across the void like ocean waves before a coming storm. And then he finds it. At the center of this impossible silence is a sphere. Not glowing, not floating. It simply is a perfect void. A place untouched by creation, unshaped by time. It's older than the first star. It existed before the Big Bang had the courage to explode. And it's beating, not like a heart, like a warning. Thor steps closer. The storm inside him reacts instantly, screaming, roaring, pulling at the edges of his mind like a wild animal sensing a rival predator. This isn't just ancient, it's original, a force so primal that even the word God feels too recent to matter. He should turn back. He doesn't, because what's inside that void isn't death, it's origin. And Thor has come too far to stop evolving now. He steps into the sphere and vanishes, not just from sight, from everything. There's no space inside the sphere, no light, no sound. It's like floating inside a paused thought, suspended between memory and possibility. And then it begins, a whisper, but not in his ear, in his soul, a language too old for words. It bypasses thought and speaks straight to a storm. And the message is simple. You are not the first. Visions flood his mind, beings before him, not gods, not mortals, forces, entities that became more than themselves. Some burned too bright and vanished. Others collapsed into singularities. And a few, the rare few, transcended completely, becoming cosmic principles. Gravity, entropy, time, thought. He sees them, one by one, and then he sees himself, not as he is now, as he could become, a new force, not worshipped, recognized, the embodiment of unleashed potential, the storm not as a weapon, but as law, a guardian not of balance, but of evolution. But there's a cost. Ascension always demands something in return. The sphere doesn't threaten him. It simply asks, what are you willing to lose to become what the cosmos needs? Thor doesn't hesitate. He releases everything. His name, his memories, the face of his father, the pain of his brother, the laughter of mortals. He lets go of Asgard, of Midgard, of love, of loss. He lets go of Thor. And what remains is power without identity, pure force, pure storm, a being unshaped by ego. And just as the void begins to take him fully, a flicker, a spark, resistance, something deep inside him fights back. Not pride, not fear, it's purpose. Thor remembers the weight of a child's life in his hands after a battle. He remembers the joy of standing beside comrades under alien skies. He remembers fighting not to become a god, but to protect those who would never be. He remembers why he started, and he realizes he doesn't need to lose who he is to become something greater. He needs to carry it with him. So he stops. In the middle of the void, he doesn't surrender. He rewrites the deal. The storm bends to him. And then he reclaims his name, not as Thor, son of Odin, not as Avenger, but as something new, a force with memory, power with heart. The void shudders. Not in rage, in respect, because no being has ever walked in and walked out still whole. Thor doesn't just walk out, he erupts. A blinding surge of energy explodes from the sphere, ripping through space-time. Galaxies nearby briefly flicker. Time itself skips a beat. Beings across dimensions pause, sensing the shift. Thor returns, but he's not made of flesh anymore. He's lightning given thought, storm given shape. He walks between atoms. He speaks and moons tremble. But when he looks down at his hand, it's still his. Scarred, calloused, real. He's more than storm. He's the bridge between God and force. And he knows where he must go next. Because something is waking. Something that feeds on imbalance, on chaos. Something that sensed the Black Star engine's destruction. Something coming. Thor looks out across the stars. He doesn't need Mjolnir. He doesn't need Stormbreaker, because the storm is his body now. The lightning is his voice. And the next time the universe calls for help, it won't be answered by a god. It'll be answered by the one thing no chaos can survive: evolution with a purpose. Thor, the storm eternal. The universe feels different, as if it knows something fundamental has changed. Not because a god has fallen, not because a world ended, but because a new force just took its place among the great constants of reality. And its name is Thor. He floats through space without effort now. There is no resistance, no friction. He no longer travels through the universe. He travels with it. Every pulse of his body matches the rhythm of stars being born. Every flicker of thought reshapes the currents of dark matter beneath him. He's not a visitor here. He belongs. But there's no peace in it, because something else has awakened. It's been hiding in the folds of reality, waiting for the universe to shift, waiting for a crack to form. And Thor, breaking the Black Star engine, surviving the edge of creation, rewriting his own fate, that was the spark. And now the crack is wide open. From it comes the opposition. It has no face, no shape, only intent. Where Thor represents evolution with purpose, the opposition is regression without restraint. A hunger ancient and bitter, something that despises growth, that hates change, that wants everything to collapse inward, silent, predictable, dead. The opposition is not a being. It's an anti-force, not evil, not cruel. Worse, it's apathetic. Thor senses it like gravity in reverse, a void swallowing possibility. And it's coming fast. Not across space, across meaning. Planets begin to dim. Stars skip their next beat. Life forms capable of premonition simply drop, overwhelmed by the oncoming absence of future. Thor doesn't hesitate. He accelerates, not through speed, but through intention. He doesn't fly. He arrives. One thought and he's at the breach, staring into something that shouldn't exist. A place where light folds in on itself, where time flickers like a dying signal, where even gods forget their names. And inside it, a shape forms. Not one, thousands, each one Thor, or rather versions of him, but twisted, broken, fractured by regret, abandoned timelines where he gave up, where he lost, where he surrendered to the weight of failure. They move toward him, fast, glitching and crackling like corrupted memories. The opposition is using himself against him, weaponizing his past, his guilt, his grief. They attack. The first strikes land hard, not just physically, spiritually. Every blow reminds him of what he lost: his brother, his mother, Asgard, Jane. Every scream in the storm is someone he couldn't save. Every face is a what-if given form. But Thor doesn't fall, because pain doesn't break him anymore. It builds him. He stops fighting the images and starts absorbing them, pulling the fractured selves into a storm, letting their memories fuel his evolution instead of halt it. He becomes a forge, burning regret into revelation. Each dark Thor absorbed adds a layer. Not armor, understanding. He's not burying his past. He's carrying it forward. And the opposition feels it. It shudders. Because it realizes Thor is not alone. He is every version that stood back up. Every version that chose to protect instead of destroy. Every version that learned, that grew, that changed. And change is the one thing the opposition cannot tolerate. So it unleashes its final form. A wave of non-existence, a collapse of meaning, the undoing of why. Civilizations vanish. Whole constellations blink out like forgotten dreams. But Thor stands in its path, and he doesn't resist it. He outlasts it, because storms don't stop the wind. They become it. He lets the final wave hit him, not as an attack, but as a baptism. And inside the collapse, he whispers one word: no. And the word echoes. Across galaxies, across timelines, across realities that haven't even begun yet. And in that moment, Thor becomes the anchor, a fixed point in all creation. Not just a storm, not just a god, a law. The universe doesn't just correct itself, It rewrites its constants around him. The opposition breaks, not in battle, in identity. It simply cannot exist where evolution has claimed its place. It flickers one last time and is gone. Thor floats in the silence. But it's not the old silence. This one is filled with something else. Balance. A calm not of surrender, but of earned peace. And slowly, across space, things return. Stars reignite. Worlds begin to heal. Beings forgotten by history rise again, given one more breath in a universe that almost blinked them away. Thor watches it all, and he smiles. Not because he won, but because he became. A force not bound to a weapon, not trapped by destiny, not shaped by lineage, but defined by choice. He chooses to protect. He chooses to evolve. He chooses to remember. And somewhere in the far corners of reality, a whisper spreads. Not a prayer, not a legend, just a truth. The storm walks among us, not to rule, to remind that even in the vast cold of space, even in the silence between worlds, there is something worth rising for. And sometimes that something wears a red cape.